Good morning, everybody. It's Fridays with Father. It's November the 12th. I'm here on a bright and sunny morning, having my early coffee, and Jonah is on the floor. Hope you're all doing well. Today is the feast of St. Josaphat, who was a bishop and martyr in the Ukrainian Catholic Church back in the 17th century, and he was rather brutally murdered, really, because he tried to bring peoples together, and sometimes people, different groups don't want to be brought together. They want to be left alone. But, the church is all about unity and being one in Christ. Here's Jonah. He wants to say hello to you, at least for a moment, right? So anyway, it's St. Joseph's Day today, and he's a martyr. So anybody with Ukrainian or Lithuanian kind of background or heritage, it's your feast, so pray to him. I just wanted to touch bases with you today. As I am, speaking to you today, I'm also beginning my annual retreat. So I pre-recorded this really, but I wanted to reach out to you anyway. As priests, we are, as part of canon law, it's expected that we should make an annual retreat, of a week at least. And I didn't do one last year. Because of COVID. Well, we didn't do a lot last year because of COVID. And yet, in some ways, the whole pandemic made it seem like we were all on permanent retreat. But anyway, things have improved, and so I'm able to sort of make my retreat right now at this time before the holidays and the rush and the craziness and the excitement begins. And I enjoy my retreat. It's a good time to reboot, restart, sort of commit, and renew. And so I'm, as I speak to you today, I'm actually ensconced in a monastery, which is quite a strict Benedictine monastery by the name of Leyre. And what I'm doing there is bringing myself into the Lord's presence in silence. So it's a silent retreat, it's a silent monastery, and for me, I find that very enlivening, very enriching, and it brings me great peace. And I've been going to the same monastery now for the last 12 or 15 years. So it's the place where I most find Jesus in my soul. It's a matter of taking care of your interior. So, and I think that's important because we get so concerned with the externals that we forget often the internals, and it's quite important that we do that today. So, So I always make a monastic retreat, which is basically I go to a monastery, and I live and eat and sleep and eat, I'm praying with the monks who are there, and it's basically just arriving and just following their regime of prayer, which is quite rigorous, from early morning through to about 9 o'clock at night. Every couple of hours or so the bell rings and you go to the church and you pray. And this monastery where I go is particularly known for its Latin plain chant. It's very beautiful and it's yet simple, but it's also helps you to refocus and takes you to, in some ways, a different place. And then in between times, you get to do some reading, you might get to do some napping, or go for a walk or that kind of thing. And all of that is done in silence. I eat in the refectory with the monks. It's in silence, and as you eat, one of the monks is reading a book, so you get to listen to somebody reading. It's all in some ways very beautiful, but it's not a social event. Somebody said to me, well, do you get to talk with the monks or interact with them? Well, no, you don't, because the nature of that monastery is that, it's an enclosed monastery. Silence is the rule. And there's a certain beauty in that, really. And it's situated right on the top of a mountain. So you get great views. And in November time, it should be quite nice and fresh. So I'm there praying for you, praying for us, praying for everything, and praying for myself, But as you do when you go on retreat, you tend to do more reading than you would when you're not on retreat. And so one of the books I'm taking with me, well, taking the Bible, but one of the books I plan to read, while I'm away, is the book of Tobit. Tobit. It's a great story. Now, like when you go on vacation, you very often you plan, your vacation reading. Well, I'm planning my retreat reading, so it's been a while since I read the book of Tobit, and the reason why I think I was drawn to it is that it's got a great prayer in there of thanksgiving, made by Tobit or Tobias, I think. And I really want to go back into that, especially as we're approaching Thanksgiving right now. It's always good to instill or sort of remind your heart of the need to be grateful. But the book of Tobit is one of those, it's like what they call like a biblical novella. It kind of comes from a genre of Bible readings which is called Midrash, and so they're not all entirely historical, but there's historical truths in it, and certainly theological truths, and it is the Word of God. But it's a great book to read, if you like to read stories, because it tells a story of the life of a family, with its struggles and with its blessings. It's very often readings are taken from Tobit on the celebrations of marriage, because it's about a wedding as well. And also in that story of Tobit, the archangel Raphael makes an appearance, and that's where he's known for his work as a healer, and that's why we acknowledge Raphael as a healer. There's a certain amount of humor in it. It's slightly strange in parts, and it's a great book to read. And it's only it's only 14 chapters long, so it's not too long. So it's the kind of thing you could read, in one sitting or two sittings, and enjoy it. And it's not obtuse, because it reads in some ways a bit like a novel. I put that to you in case you have a bit of spare time on your hands and you're looking for something to read, or you're looking for a way into the Bible, and sometimes you find it a bit impenetrable, or you don't know where to look. Well, these stories, from like the book of Tobit, are a great way into it, into sort of, in some ways, discovering God's goodness and greatness. And and Tobit in this book is particularly just a very, very good person. So I'm going to be poring over that in my prayer while I'm on retreat, amongst other things. And when I come back, I will be talking to you about what I found in the book of Tobit. So if you get a chance, take a look, because it's a nice little read. Okay, so I'm planning my retreat reading, and Tobit is on the menu while I'm away. Okay, along with one of the Gospels, and then some other bits of fiction, and then some other bits of spiritual writing. I usually like to dip back into St. Teresa of Avila and absorb some of her work. So that's what I'll be doing while I'm away. The other thing I was going to mention to you really is today, like this past week, we've blessed a statue of St. Joseph, which was very generously donated by Emmy San Juan. So I thank Emmy for her kindness. This year, as you know, according to the church, was dedicated to St. Joseph, and it started at the beginning of December last year and will end now at the end of November. And we did have a celebration of St. Joseph on his feast day in March, and Emmy wanted to donate this statue to the parish, and it's a rather lovely statue, a traditional statue. However, when she ordered it, she didn't account for COVID delays, and the fact that everybody wanted a statue of St. Joseph. So it took like 6 months to arrive. Anyway, it finally arrived, and this past Monday, during the daily mass, we had a special mass for St. Joseph, and the statue was blessed, and it's been installed in the gathering space for the moment, with where the picture of St. Joseph is, and we're hoping to create like a little corner for St. Joseph for people to acknowledge and to pray. He is the patron saint of workers, so if you need work or are looking for workers, St. Joseph, and of course patron saint of fathers as well. So I commend you to that. The other thing I want to say, and it's just like a small piece coming from last week's gospel, really, which talked about the poor widow, who gave her 2 last coins and put them into the treasury, and Jesus put her before us as an example, really. She's kind of stuck with me, really, because she's slightly mysterious, and you wonder, really, what was she all about? That Jesus pointed to her as an example that we should all follow, that because everybody else was just giving of their excess, whereas the widow was giving of her essence. She gave everything that she had. She had no excess. It just made me wonder, what was her motivation? So I've been pondering that all week. What was her real motivation? What was, because when you think about it, I mean, in real life, none of us like, for example, paying taxes. It's a civic duty which we all do, but none of us really like it, and it's rare that somebody would pay extra taxes just because they want to. And I know it's only symbolism in terms of the gospel, but it was a real person that Jesus was alluding to, and in some ways putting her really before us. And I can only think, really, you see, that there was no specific person, no specific purpose in the woman's action, really, other than the fact that she was just an exceptionally good and holy woman. Goodness and holiness come from the essence of who we are, and that woman, the widow, and her great offering were just an expression of who she was, which led me to think about holiness and what we're called to be. We think of sometimes maybe holiness as holy things that we do, or pious things that we do. But really, holiness is about the essence of who we are, and I can only think, looking at that woman, that she gave all that she had because that's who she was. She was just generous to a fault. You've all known people like that. You probably still do know people. I know people like that. But really, that's, I think, where holiness is at, whereby there's no separation between who the person is and what it is they do. We're not called to do holiness. We're called to be holy, and we become holy, I think, by doing lots of holy and good things, practicing holiness through prayer and through the sacraments and through good works. And little by little, you see, I think that kind of changes us, changes our insides, changes the internal functions of who we are, and therefore it just becomes part of our way that that we would do good things rather than bad things. And I think that the lady in the gospel is put before us just to show us that, really, and it's to show us of who we can be and who we need to be. I was caught by there was a tagline which was put in one of the Facebook posts from our parish this last week, and it's also on the church sign outside on Bodie Road, and it says, live authentically and walk with holiness. And I looked at that and I thought, adding on to that, I think it's, live authentically, equals sign or means, living authentically means live holy, live holy. You don't walk with the holiness, but live it, it has to become who we are, that we could be no other thing other than just to be holy. And you do see that in people, and it's inspiring. And I think that's what that woman in the gospel is. She's there to inspire us and to show us in some ways how, we're not defined, just by our acts, but our acts really are a reflection of who we are at a deeper level. And Jesus always likes to go deeper with each one of us, to draw us closer to him and to make us, more like him and less like the world. Okay, so I put that before you because I thought the widow and the widow's mite is always a wonderful example for us to ponder. So ponder it. Anyway, I will not be doing a Fridays with Father next Friday because I will actually be traveling back from my retreat and I won't get in until late, or it'll be too late for me to record. So I hope you'll excuse me whilst I finish off my retreat. But the next Fridays with Father will be on Black Friday. Yeah, just the day after Thanksgiving. So I'll be touching bases with you then. So in the meantime, I will keep you in my prayers as I'm on retreat. Please pray for me, and I look forward to seeing you back at church when I return. In the meantime, be joyful, keep the faith. Jonah is kind of snoring here, but he also wants to say be joyful and keep the faith too. Take care. Bye-bye.